Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have here the topics the Russian delegation and the Ukrainian delegations will talk about if they meet in Istanbul, Turkey. I have them from the Russian side and I have the ones from the Ukrainian side. Now, before I start, do you think that they want to talk about the same thing? Let's say these are the issues. Do you think they're going to somewhere intersect, or they will be just like this? This is the Russians' topics of discussion, and this is the Ukrainian topics, or this is the Ukrainian topic of discussion. Do you think they will meet anywhere, or do you think they're going to just go like this, parallel and equidistant? All right, well, let's see what the Ukrainians say first. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda. It is from Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Zelenskyy reveals what he plans to discuss with Putin. All right, let's see. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has stated that if his conversation with the Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin does take place, he will negotiate a full ceasefire. All right, and I'm quoting, "We will do everything we can to make this meeting happen." Well, no, because you already set conditions that you're going to make it happen only if he agrees to ceasefire. He already gave you that answer many times before. If Putin is truly ready, this is trying to, how do you call it, guilt trip him. If Putin is truly ready, that means no, he's just a coward, not just in the media, but in real life, to meet. And then at leader level, we will do everything we can to agree on a ceasefire, because he is the one I have to negotiate a ceasefire with, because he's the only one who decides on it. Zelenskyy said that if Putin expresses willingness for an unconditional ceasefire during the negotiations, it will open the way for more detailed talks about ending the war as a whole. Zelenskyy also expressed hope that his US counterpart Donald Trump will join his talks with Putin. And I'm quoting, "We have invited President Trump to join." No, Trump invited himself. I don't know what the President of the United States has decided, but in any case, if he confirmed his participation, it would add extra momentum to get Putin to come. All right, so they know Putin is not coming so far. Now, let me show you this right here, what this guy says. So, this right here. Zelenskyy said if Putin expresses willingness for an unconditional ceasefire during the negotiations, it will open the way for more detailed talks about ending the war as a whole. The Russians never said they disagree with that. They said there are some details we need to talk about. That's a difference. It's not like everything goes the way you want. And besides, who are you to set any agenda here? You're not in the position to dictate. Well, we can discuss things. That's exactly what we do. We negotiate before we negotiate. And it seems like you want to be stuck on this one, and beyond that, nothing happens. So we have to somehow, okay, we agree to a ceasefire. And then what? I tell you then what? They're going to meet, and the Ukrainians will act the same way they acted last time. And they say, well, you know what? We can't talk to you guys. Nah, all right, let's go back. And they will drag their feet, I think in bad faith. That's my assessment. In bad faith, they will drag it for 30 days until they regroup. They're losing. NATO is losing. That's the whole point. Russia doesn't need negotiations at this point. How the war goes, yeah, it doesn't go the way it was expected without the intervention of NATO. But nevertheless, it's still going. They liberate, control, occupy, settlement after settlement. All right, and it doesn't seem like they are, losing on the drone and missile strikes either. All right, so this is what he says. Basically, I'm going to talk about only a ceasefire. And then after you agree with that, we're going to talk about the rest, if I'm in a mood. So it's unbelievable. You have an ugly woman that you really don't pay attention to her. You have other options, all right? You don't, and the ugly woman wants you. And you say, well, okay, let me give you a chance. And after you have many other options, you just, okay, let me give you a chance. And when you just make a compromise with your values and your level, you want to give her a chance. And immediately when you turn to say, all right, how are you doing today? Well, no. Before you talk to me, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And you're like, first, I shouldn't have been approaching you. You're not in my, my scale. I do this, and now you impose to me. I shouldn't even talk to you. Bye, see you never. And you move towards the, 8 and 9s. Don't talk with the 3. So that's the way it is in this case. The Russians don't need to talk about this. And no other women, ugly women around the ugly one right here, can make you talk to her. They can't, which is the European Union or the Americans. They can't make you talk to them. They have nothing. They only blah, 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 blah. What they're going to do? I have other options. I have China, beautiful, 8 to 9. I have India. I have the rest of the world that I can do business with. I don't need you. And they are the ones who think that they are needed. You're old and all that. You're ugly. Shut the fuck up. All right, that's with the analogy. Let's go to see what the Russians are saying. But Zelenskyy also adds something more about negotiations. Not only the ceasefire. That's the first article. This is the second article. Ukrainska Pravda. Zelenskyy plans to talk to Putin about ceasefire. It's already discussed. And they will discuss it. Yeah, they will discuss it. And prisoner exchange. So these are the two things they want to discuss. Ceasefire and prisoner exchange. That's good. This is the two topics. The Ukrainians are gonna, this is, I was about to say Jerusalem. Sorry, my Turkish friends. Or the Greek friends. Which one is it? Istanbul, Constantinople. All right, so Byzantium. So these guys come with two issues. I'm sweating like a pig. And these guys, let's see what the Russians are bringing and see if they meet anywhere. Now, it doesn't mean that if I come with this and I come with this and we don't meet anywhere, we can't discuss them. They can discuss them. But the problem is that they seem to be like non-negotiable. So I don't know why. But anyway, let me show you what the Russians are saying. This comes from Russia Today. All right. This is from 13th of May 2025. Moscow names topics for Istanbul talks with Kiev. Ukraine's inability to negotiate, however, makes it hard to predict if the meeting will yield results. Well, the same thing they can say about you. So let's move on. Moscow wants to discuss and I'm quoting, sustainable settlement. The other guys say, no, we first want this ceasefire, and then maybe we talk about the settlement, the whatever sustainable settlement, with Kiev during possible upcoming talks. Now, I want to know, just as an intellectual rhetoric, why doesn't have to be like, for instance, I have to kiss you before I penetrate you? It doesn't have to be like that? Is there a law saying that? Is there a requirement? That's the natural law of, or just preference? Or why do I have to touch your breasts before I penetrate you? I'm just using these things because, someone said I'm obsessed. Okay, I am. Let's move on. So, now, with this kind of things, why do you need to have a ceasefire before you negotiate? What is the requirement? Yeah, it could be good, but could be bad. Do I benefit from a ceasefire? No, I'm not going to have a ceasefire, but I can negotiate in parallel. So can you. It's just that you don't want to. You can do it. You don't want to. Okay, then we don't meet, and that's it. So the same, I don't understand. I understand. I understand why these guys are. It's like you go to a negotiation and you go there to the negotiation. The guy doesn't want to negotiate and says, Emil, you got the wrong shirt today. I'm not going to talk to you. Bring that shirt. But I don't want to bring that shirt. Ew, I come however I want to dress. Well, we're not going to talk. It's something that is unrelated to the talk, to the negotiations, the issue at hand, why the war started. But you say, if you don't fulfill that, and you always find another one. If I fulfill that, it's going to be something else next time. Putin has to come, in his Speedos. If Putin shows up in Speedos, Lavrov has to come with, with feather in his ass. Or something like this. That tells me bad faith negotiation. Bazaar kind of thing. Zelenskyy, what do you want? Okay, let's move on. All right. It says, Moscow wants to discuss a sustainable settlement with Kiev during possible upcoming talks in Istanbul, including the recognition of former Ukrainian territory as an integral part of Russia. That won't happen. I don't think the Ukrainians will ever negotiate that. They will say, they will never write, not never, I don't want to say never. I take that back. All right. And I don't think they will sign a paper where it says we agree with those territories to be part of Russia. They will not recognize those territories. They will say, as de facto are there, it doesn't mean they're forever. With the first opportunity, we're going to stab you in the back and take them back if we can with our jackals sponsors. And that's it. I don't think. And what again, the Russians come with this. They're not going to negotiate. I mean, the same. This goes parallel and equidistant, doesn't have anything to do with one another. The senior diplomat spoke with reporters about the proposed meeting on Tuesday. I think it's Thursday, not Tuesday, explaining that the issues. He spoke on Tuesday, explaining that the issue Moscow would bring up are effectively the same. It has in the past and largely concerned the goals of Russia's special military operation against Ukraine. So it's going to come with the 4 non-negotiables. So the Russians don't come to negotiate. The Russians come to tell the Ukrainians, you got to sign this. No? Bye. And the Ukrainians will say, no, you got to sign this. No. So this is negotiations for you. It's not going to be anything. I don't think it's going to be anything. If they meet. The Russians said we're going to be there. I have an article, they said we are going to be waiting for the Ukrainians in Istanbul. If the Ukrainians show up, I don't think it's going to be anything resolved. This guy, the same, which is denazification, no NATO, no demilitarization of Ukraine, and the recognitions of the territories. These are the 4 non-negotiable to start with. And they said that from the very beginning. No NATO, don't kill our people in East Ukraine, no militarization so you can't attack us again, and the ideology that you have with Bandera and others should go. You have to make it go. Why? Because it's supporting Nazism, according to the Russians. All right, let's go to the article. And I'm quoting. They have been on the agenda all the time. Correct. How to ensure a reliable, sustainable settlement of the situation. First of all, by addressing the very roots of the conflict. And that's true. They said this over and over again. A lot of Russians said it. It's not only Putin or Lavrov. Resolving issues related to the denazification of Kiev regime. These guys say, what's the denazification? Clearly, Kiev regime should not support Bandera's, according to the Poles, crimes. And not only genocide, you want to call it, ensuring recognitions of the realities, that is, we got your lands, or our lands, how we want to look at it, have developed recently, that is the territories, including the entry of new territories into Russia. The deputy minister was apparently referring to Kherson and Zaporozhye region, as well as Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, which were incorporated into Russia in late 2022, following a string of referenda. In the aftermath of the 2014 Maidan coup in Kiev, Crimea also opted to break away from Ukraine, joining Russia via a referendum shortly after. Referendum is better than what Kosovo voted in the parliament, just so you know. I know, these guys use their weapons to do it, not the computers like in America, to say who won. The senior diplomat refrained from making any prognosis on the potential outcome of the proposed talks, but stressed that Moscow is committed to negotiating seriously and responsibly. So are the Ukrainians, they say. All right, both say. And I'm quoting, it is premature to make any predictions. The question should be addressed to the sponsors of the Kiev regime and Kiev itself. Are they ready to negotiate? We have a strong impression that with the current approach, these figures can be characterized by their inability to negotiate. Well, what would be is this. It is clear, and if it's not clear, for me, to me at least, it's clear, I'm pretty sure for most of you, that the root causes of this conflict is NATO's expansion. I mean, you can consider NATO the angel of the world. You can consider however you want. Look at its actions. Look at its interventions. Then you're going to realize that people are afraid of NATO. And not because NATO is good and everybody else is bad. I think it's the other way around. NATO is the military arm of the global interest. The global meaning the Western interest. Not only, it's incorrect to say Western interest because these interests are global. That is, if I can go and get China to be mine, I will get China and I will locate my headquarters over there. It's global interest. They want to take over as much as they can. The problem is they took control of the Western world. That's what it is. That's why they call the Western... no, it's this interest took control of the economies, the military, the political, and the culture in the West. And they use these baboons, they use us, to promote their plundering of the world and pushing everybody around. And if they don't, sanctions, and then they use the military arm of all this, which is NATO. That's what it is. So if tomorrow, let's say, Libya says something like they did, they're going to send NATO. What does NATO have to do? NATO is a European, North Atlantic organization. It's a peace in Europe. Oh, and then they say, oh, you know what? Libya is threatening us. Okay, like that you can say Bangladesh threatens us. Anyone they want and say, this threatens our what? And they promote their economy. They enter the countries using the military arm. If the political arm doesn't do its job, the threats and blackmail, the economic arm doesn't work, which is sanctions, then they will try a coup d'etat with their intelligence and with their spies. They will create a problem. You don't, recognize the right of a baboon or something. And that's, human rights right there. And that's it. And they will say we'll have to intervene. Or they call it genocide. Or they lie. Plainly lie. Like they lied towards Saddam. Remember? That was a lie. And they did it. And then they say, well, no weapons of mass destructions, no this, no that. Oh, we brought democracy. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you don't check my ass for something and then you say, well, my bad, now we did it anyway. No, it doesn't work that way. But anyway, that's not the way anyway. So this is it, my friends. First, they will meet, probably. And if they meet, nothing will come out. Zelenskyy and Putin will not meet. I don't think so. And I will make a next video about how a meeting, if they meet, and if they meet, how the meeting do you think is going to be going? Remember, have you seen Zelenskyy talk to Trump at the White House? Trump is his main sponsor, or represents the main sponsor in the United States of America. How do you think the conversation between Putin and Zelenskyy will occur? Do you think that Zelenskyy would be civilized, or is going to be a bazaar guy? I think the second option will qualify. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.